The doc is in this week for the Alvin Parker Coaches Show, back in our home base after a couple of weeks on the road. We got Coach Alvin Parker with us in studio. I'm Sean Robertson. A lot to unpack in this week's edition of the Coaches Show. Another big win for the Panthers, shutting out Elizabeth City 35-0. I joked with you, Coach, during your media availability. Would have been nice to get 3 more touchdowns when I was there to shoot. But it seemed like to me, and I don't know if you would agree, the game was won in that second quarter on that one specific drive. When Elizabeth City's driving, you stop them on 4th and goal. I think it was like at the 2.
Mhm.
You come right back on the next drive and you go 98 yards on 11 plays. Mark Wright scores a touchdown at 7-0 going into halftime. And it just seemed like the win is out of their sail and you guys roll, after that point.
Yeah, I mean that was a decisive turning point in the game because, like I said before, we just didn't have a lot of possessions.
Yeah.
We extended a lot of drives with penalties and some things that Elizabeth City did to extend drives on their own. So with that happening, we didn't have a lot of chances. So I'm glad we took advantage of that chance right there. But like you said, Sean, it started with the defense. With that stop, to turn them over on downs. Elizabeth City went for it on 4th down, and we were able to stop them and kind of get the ball right there. Mount one of our nicest drives that I've probably seen us do all season. 11 plays with 11 runs.
Yeah.
And kind of get it all the way down and score and put ourselves in position to go into halftime up.
We always say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I always say if it ain't broke, don't break it. And it just seemed like, it was Jada, Mark. I think Curtis had a run, a big 20-plus yard run to get you guys in the red zone. Then Jada again, and then Mark with that helicopter flip in the end zone. Was it something that you guys talked after the 4th down stop? Say, look, if we get rolling, running the football, we're just going to keep doing it until they stop it? Or was it just, you took what they gave you at that point?
I think all the time we just take what the defense gives us. In that situation, you just want to get something that's going to give you some stability as offense because you haven't had that many chances, like I said. So in that situation, I thought they were giving us some things in the run game that we just took advantage of, and the guys just kind of put it all together. That's the biggest thing. I think we're capable of doing so much on offense, but sometimes it's about the little things. And I think we did a lot of the little things right on that drive and mounted. Like I said, and they put us in a good position.
You mentioned the few possessions you had in the first half. I think you said this week you only had like 3 in the first half, and that third one was the touchdown. It seemed like Creasy, the quarterback for Elizabeth City, did a really good job of either extending the play in the pocket, kind of moving around the pocket and creating things downfield. And it frustrated you guys because there were a couple of plays where you made plays in the backfield, a couple of face masks, and that you were very frustrated about on the sideline. How did you guys, I guess, calm it down to a certain degree? Because it just seemed like he was going to make it 5, 6, 7 seconds before making a play. And it kind of put you guys, I want to say, not saying a bomb, but it made it a little frustrating to get to him at points.
We knew how talented he was, and I said, man, we got to see this guy for another 3 to 4 years, so he was extremely talented in a lot of things that he was doing. So, just had to settle down.
Yeah.
A lot of time we were getting back there. Like I said, some of those penalties, extended drives, got them close. I think it was a drive. We had 3 straight back-to-back penalties on 3rd downs that just put us in an awful situation.
I could hear you on the sideline with that too.
I'm sorry. And
No, you're
fans out
fine.
there, I'm sorry too because I was livid. But it just wasn't Panther football. And like I said, I tell the guys all the time, it's hard to watch, but we're not playing Panther football. But it's a beautiful thing to watch when we are. So I think when we got it in that mode and defense kind of locked it down at that point, and to me, rest of the game pretty much played lights out.
I was going to say Panther football showed in the second half because y'all scored them 28-0. What worked? Was it that just the guys settled down at that point?
I mean, that's all I can really say, because we didn't really go into halftime and change anything. We stuck with the game plan that we felt like we could work, that we worked on all week, and those guys just kind of came out and did it, So, and I can say the first 4 possessions on offense, we scored. The first 4 possessions on defense, we stopped them. So, that right there was a big, big turning point in the game. So we get to the 4th quarter. Right there, at the beginning of the 4th quarter, it was 28-0. So I felt like we were in a good position to kind of finish out our game plan, and those guys did it. So that made me feel a little bit better. But
It calmed you down a little
some of the
bit.
ways we started and some of the things we were doing, I was a little, little just I won't say upset, but a little just because I know we could play better at times, and we just didn't.
There's a standard. You always say there's
That's
a
it.
standard. There's a Panther way of playing football. And there was certain parts in that first half that it kind of deviated a little bit. And it
Absolutely.
got back to being Panther football in the second half. Now, before we talk about the offense, and offense put up big numbers again against Elizabeth City, the defense. We mentioned that drive on fourth down, stopping them inside the 5. You blocked 2 field goals. You had a pick in the red zone. First shutout this season against Elizabeth City. You held them, I believe, to under 200 yards, 184 of offense. It just seemed like during this stretch, their level of play has gone up another degree or two.
It has. I'm thinking it's the homestand we had, which was the last 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they've given up about maybe 20 points in 3 games. 20
points on the button.
In 3 games. So that's big time. So that's big time. So hats off to those guys over there because they you look back at the season and you kind of take inventory of it. You had a 7-point game down in Kentucky. You had another 7-point game against Shaw. Then you have a 0-point game against, Elizabeth City. So you kind of look at that. The body of work throughout the season just looks good for those guys over there, and they're doing a heck of a job.
20 points the last 3 games. You only given up 3, a field goal in the first half. You forced 7 turnovers in that 3-game stretch. And like I said, holding Elizabeth City to 184 yards of offense. And you've had 8 sacks in 3 games. Isaac has had 3 in the last 2 weeks, and he was on the All-CIAA. He was selected Defensive Lineman of the Week. That front 7, we mentioned Shamar doing your presser. Isaac has done really, really well. Just that front 7, even the back end too, really has played good football over this stretch.
It's a bunch of guys I can name. Isaiah Dickens,
Davis with the pick, yeah.
Davis, Gatlin, Mayo, Manley. It's a ton of guys over that I can name. Lumumba Howard, Jabril Norman, I can go on and on. Jaquie Hill. It's a bunch of guys over there on that defensive side that you can name that's been making major contributions.
Mm-hmm.
So many, it was tough to kind of, name them all because I'm gonna leave somebody out. But I know at the end of the game last week, I think we played 12 to 13 defensive linemen.
Wow.
So that's a great rotation up front. We played a few linebackers, in that, and again played a few guys in the secondary. So I was happy again. Just when you get to see everybody play, the more guys you got to get dirty, the happier the locker room generally is. And so, and they put up numbers while doing it.
And the other thing is, some of these guys are gonna be back. This is a
Absolutely.
deep, young group of linemen that you got this year.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with that, Sean. Of course, Isaac puts up great numbers for us, and him and Dickens are probably the only 2 seniors that are in that group. And Tate has been playing well down there too. Like I said, I don't want to get to mention so many names. So I'm just gonna forget somebody, but there's so many guys over there that are playing well. When you look up and you kind of see it, like I say, we kind of seen these guys kind of come through the program, and to see them having a success on the level that they're having it, Coach Porter, I'm sure, is happy. That whole defensive staff is happy, and all of that makes me happy.
I'm very, very happy, Panther head coach. 3-game winning streak. They're now 4-2 on the season. More importantly, they're tied for first in the CIAA with Johnson C. Smith. Again, that loss to the Golden Bulls did not count against the Panthers. So the Golden Bulls and Panthers, both 3-0, getting close to November, talking CIAA championship. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have the Players Lounge segment. We're going to talk to the 2 quarterbacks and 2 of the running backs that has led the Panthers to the #1 rushing offense in the CIAA. That's coming up next when the Alvin Parker Coaches Show continue.
The thing about VUU is, it isn't just one thing. It's about the early morning drive, grounded in a legacy of resilience. Nights spent under the gaze of ancestors, forging the future. It's honoring traditions while sparking global change. It's about leading the charge in historical legacy, infused with the wisdom of generations. It's the heart and soul of Black culture and the thrill of winning the football championship. is all this and more. This is VUU.
All right, we're back here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. We got our Players Lounge segment this week. We've got the two of the running backs that has led the CIAA in rushing this year, and we've got the two quarterbacks also for Virginia Union. We got RJ Rosales, we've got Jada Byers, we've got Curtis Allen, and we also got Mark Wright with us in the Players Lounge. Guys, thank you for joining us, and congrats on the victory last week against Elizabeth City State.
Appreciate you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
How do you guys feel? You 4-2. You've won 3 straight. You swept the homestand, and you're currently tied for first in the CIAA. Let's go around the room. How does it feel to be tied for first place at this point of the season?
I would say we're content, never satisfied though. But we know that we're after a big goal and a real common goal amongst everybody that we've been talking about since the off season, and we're just focusing on taking it one weekend at a time.
Same thing he just said. I feel as though we just go 1-0 every week and get better and show people that ain't not one loss to find who we was.
I know everybody's probably watching right now, like, who is our special guest that you're holding right now? Please introduce our special guest, Jada.
What's up? No.
We've been talking that he just woke up from his nap, so he just laying low right now, but he's gonna hold on to the mic strong too. Well, let's go to this side of the room. How do you guys feel about being 3-0 right now?
It definitely feels great to be 3-0 in the conference right now, but at the same time, we can't get that sense of complacency. We have to keep finding ways to get better each and every day.
Mm-hmm.
It feels great, but like Coach Luke said, never get too high with the high, never get too low with the lows.
Mm-hmm. When you guys were 1-2 before conference play began, after the loss to Smith, what was the pulse of the team at that point as you were starting conference play?
Honestly, we've faced adversity, I want to say, every year since I've been here. I'm going into my third year here. With my freshman year, it was with Chawan. Cards are still in our favor for the postseason. Last year with Fayetteville, we called that the rain game.
That's right.
Cards still worked in our favor, and more or less this year, we understood Hampton was a non-conference, so win or lose, it wouldn't have mattered. Johnson C was our get out of jail free card, but even if it was, we knew we had to win out, and we're just going to keep doing what we intended to do to begin with because, the cards are still in our favor.
Like that, the get out of jail free card.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was a get out of jail free card, but we still try to win that game at the end of the day regardless. But like I always said, we're going to take this 1 week at a time and do what we got to do and continue playing union football and out physical everybody and dominate.
And in a weird way, it was almost like a scouting idea because if you guys see them in the championship game, you can go back and say, hey, this is what we can work on, correct, and make some slight adjustments to get ready for the championship should you guys make it that far.
Like Kurt said earlier, I think, like Coach Luke says, don't get too high with the highs and don't get too lows with the lows. And I feel like as far as a team perspective, we were just an even kill and we just put our head down and kept working.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Curtis? Just about what the pulse was with the team after you guys lost to Smith and you were sitting at 1-2.
I feel like, when we first lost, everybody was down, but like coming back in the following week, everybody had a better spirit. We came back ready to work, play harder.
And with you two, you guys have been working together in the quarterback room. What has that dynamic been like amongst you guys? Because we, from the outside, it's like, okay, who's going to be the number one? But it seems like you guys have worked together for the common goal, which is to better the team.
You want to go for it? So, honestly, you get two different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Not one player is all the same, and that's for any position. But, just to share and combine minds. And then, Coach Bankson doing what he does and preparing us, each week, day in and day out. We're probably watching more film than it worked for all 7 of my courses. So, he does a good job of preparing us. And, more or less, I think all of us are able to do it, too, because just how much he prepares us. But to have all 3 minds combined into one and 2 predominantly, because, it's 2 former Division I quarterbacks, what better situation can you ask for?
Right.
And to piggyback off what Chop said, I think from the perspective that we're 2 different playing styles as quarterbacks, and then with our quarterback coach, Coach Luke, I mean, between me and my brain, Chop's brain, and Coach Luke's brain, it's 3 different outcomes we could be seeing on the field, and we all see it in a different way. So whether I'm in the game or Chop is in the game or it's the 2 younger guys, I feel like whoever's in there we're comfortable with in that quarterback room.
And then in the running back room, how competitive is it amongst you guys, trying to get the reps? I mean, Curtis, you trying to get those reps behind Jada and other guys trying to follow you in that position. How competitive has it been in the running back room?
That room is very competitive. That's one thing. Like us, we really feel as though like we got our own brotherhood on the team because the only thing we do, we hold each other accountable for every little thing we do wrong and right. We always try to just make each other better. And at the day, like they both said, it's different play styles in everybody's room. We all play two different things, but it's just like when we all come together and we tell each other what we did wrong and what we do here, it makes everybody great. I feel as though any of our running backs that we got in that room can play today. And any school they was in that union, they could start at any other school.
No question. And we saw that last year. We had 3 different running backs on a team make CIAA running back of the week. I think that's the first time in history. How has the other guys, Curtis, made you better? And how have you made the other guys better in that room?
Really just taking in what everybody else tell me, what I'm doing wrong, following, listening to everybody. Whatever we work on in practice, Coach Riley, he always helps us out a lot. The drills we do in practice, the stuff we work on, all the film we watch, just everything we do, it's always just good spirit, good brotherhood in there. They always got my back. I got theirs. It's just great.
Mm-hmm. How do you make this game against Lincoln? I mean, obviously it's the most important game because it's the next game, but not to overlook Lincoln and moving forward. It's a team, on paper, you should win, but just having that tunnel vision of playing 60 minutes against a quality conference opponent.
I would say for me, to go back to what I said, the first time, just understanding that we were in a position like this when we were undefeated in Shawan. It's kind of still a bit of taste for those who were here, but for us to understand that, the same way we anticipated beating Johnson C and we went in and we didn't come out on top is the same way we're going to go into Lincoln. And hopefully it's going to be a completely different outcome, but we understand that the goal is still to win. So we can't overlook anybody, especially in the position that we're in.
Basically, the same thing he said, but I'm going to add on to something like Coach Luke came in one of our office meetings one day and he put on the list of all the top 5 Division I teams that had big upsets, and Vanderbilt that beat them. Like, you can't take no team for granted because at the end of the day, we are the champs from last year. Everybody's going to come play their best game against us, and if you may not look at it or not, every week is a championship game for us because everybody's going to play their best instead of waiting for week 11. We've got to play like that every week.
And if we lose, we don't go to the championship.
So it's more about, and it sounds like it's more about you guys talking to each other, kind of keeping each other mentally sharp and not allowing it to get to the coaches. Is that fair to say?
Like Coach Parker said.
Yeah, and I think the CI is a competitive conference to be in D2. I think it's one of the top D2 conferences, so anybody can be beat at any time. So we just they're just next on the schedule. Just keep a cool head and go into the game knowing and expecting to win.
Want to wrap it up, Curtis?
Yeah, kind of like what Mark said, just keeping the cool head. Like earlier what I said too, never get too high with the highs, never get too low with the lows. Just we got to take it one game at a time.
Sounds good. JJ, you got something to say before we head out? Well, guys, thanks for the time and good luck to you guys. Safe travels up to Lincoln. Hopefully we'll talk about another victory next week.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Coming up next, we're going to wrap it up with head coach Dr. Alvin Parker. We'll go more into the game against Lincoln that's scheduled for Saturday at 1 p.m. That's next on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show.
I'm a VUU student. Of course, embracing self-discoveries and seizing our opportunities define our experience.
I'm a VUU alumni. Of course, our education here propels us to greatness.
I am a VU student. Of course, my education is challenged outside the classroom. That's why my education goes beyond the textbooks.
I'm a VUU executive leader. Of course, empowering student success is our top priority.
Of course, every Panther plays a vital role in shaping our future at Virginia Union University.
Back for our final segment on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. Big thanks to the players that joined us in the Players Lounge segment. RJ, Jada, Curtis, and Mark. I think Mark has been a quarterback of the week in the CIAA once this year. Jada twice. And last year, Curtis was running back of the week, one of 3 that got that distinction last year. We still believe it's the first in CIAA history that 3 different running backs from one school were named running backs of the week at one point in the year. We touched briefly with them, Coach, about the Lincoln game and just having that mentally sharp focus of not taking anything for granted. On paper, hey, 1-5. They just got their first victory this past week against Bluefield State.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, hey, look, we're not even going to let you guys get it to y'all to tell us what's ahead. For you, how satisfying is that to hear that the players are policing themselves to that degree where it shouldn't have to go to you guys to get them focused about what's on tap?
I was always taught that if you put a coach-led team up versus a player-led team, that player-led team was going to win every time. So, to see those guys kind of policing themselves and kind of doing things the right way and holding each other accountable, that as a coach, that makes me feel good, so they're definitely player-led. And that's some of the things that I like about them. They still give us some things to coach, and they still give us some things to do. but for the most part, they're a player-led team, and they hold each other accountable, and they keep things going in the right direction.
I was going to say, is that like an extension from when you played here, when you played under Coach Bailey? Like Bailey let you guys police the locker room until something almost drastic or major had to happen, and then he would take over.
Yeah, some of the same things that we did that were used back then in the 90s. You can kind of use now. I think the most important thing is that football has to be important to everybody. And as long as it's important to everybody, people will kind of take things a certain way and do things a certain way.
In the years past, Isaiah Freeman, we mentioned his name a lot with Lincoln as the quarterback. Has got great athletic ability, good size, had probably his best game of the year last week against Bluefield State, had 3 touchdowns in the game. When you've seen him on tape this year, what stands out or what is it's different about him this year as opposed to in years past?
Not a lot. He's the player of the year.
Yeah.
And to somebody else says otherwise, so, we got to make sure we do a good job in that game of containing him. He's one of the top quarterbacks, not only in our league, but in all HBCU. So that's something that, again, having that challenge to go up against that this weekend, I think our defense is, going to be ready for that and step up to the challenge.
When you get to this point in the season, obviously you scout, you do your due diligence about your opponent, but how much is it on them and how much is it on you fine-tuning, tinkering, adjusting certain things to your game to get better?
I think, at this point in the season, you can't get tired of doing a lot of the same things over and over, and at this point in the season, it's really not about anybody else. It's all about you. You got to be healthy at this point in the season. It's October and you want to give yourself a chance in October. So you got to be healthy. You kind of got to be clicking, and you just got to be used to doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again. So, and you got to present your best you every week. I think at this point, everybody kind of know what type of team they are right now. So as long as you go out there and present your best self, the opponent does still matter. But, I think the most important opponent is yourself. You got to make sure you're in charge of yourself at this point in the season.
That's past home stretch. Do you feel like you're playing your best football?
I think we're playing some good football.
But not your best football.
I think our best football is still a little in front of us. I think I want to see it, because I tell those guys all the time, a lot of time if it's not perfect, it's not right. So, they take to that, and I want to still see some perfection. We're doing a lot of things good, Sean. I can't say that now. And again, like I say, when they do some things perfect, it's fun to watch. But again, we still have our best game in front of us.
I won't say this is a trap game, but it has that feel a little bit. You're on the road. It's a team that's coming off their homecoming win. They got a little juice. You've won 3 straight. You don't want to overlook them for your next road game after this one. Do you view it as a trap game, or do you just view it as it's just the next game on our schedule?
It's the next game. Like I say, because, we prepared the same all week.
Right.
Like we prepared for any other game, this season, and our guys work great off routine. We have to stick to the routine. I think our team is extremely much more functional when we stick to a routine. So we can't say, we're going to do something different this week than we've done in any other week. I think that prevents anything from coming a trap game from us, so to speak.
You're back on. I'm sorry. You're back on the road. It's a little different now. We're talking about this in September, so you got to go back to the routine that you had dealt with or you were using for the first month of the season.
Yep, and like I say, I think we've done pretty well on the road since I've been here, and we feel good about it. But like I say, as long as you kind of sticking to that major thing, which is focus. Whether you're home, whether you're on the road, whether you're at a neutral site, whatever, you got to put yourself in position with the small things. And I think that they're getting it, and that's kind of turned into some of the type of victories we've had the last 3 weeks. We're getting the small things. We don't got them all yet, because I don't want to let the guys think that they're there quite yet. But, like I said earlier, Sean, I think our best football is still in front of us.
They always say defense travels, but that's something that also travels. Focus travels
definitely
as well. And hopefully the focus and the defense and the offense and the special teams, can't forget about them. They'll travel to Lincoln, Pennsylvania this weekend, 1 o'clock kickoff against the Lions. Of course, you can see it on the CIAA Sports Network, and we'll talk about it next week on our next edition of the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. Thanks to Coach and also the players in our Players Lounge segment, Jada, RJ, Mark, and Curtis for joining us. I'm Sean Robertson. Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Coaches Show, and we'll talk to you next Thursday night when we'll do it again on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show.